Hi guys, it's 20 days before my scheduled surgery, and I'm doing a video on the pre-op process. Then I'll do another one later on my views on the pre-op process. But I guess the first thing was the seminar. I didn't have to go to the seminar. I had already scheduled my consult with the doctor, and I'm getting the surgery Lapband at a university hospital, and they're a center of excellence. And I made the appointment, and after I made the appointment, which was like 10 days away from when I made it, that was the earliest I could get, I found out they had a seminar. They didn't tell me. I found out on the website, and I went, and there were 4 people there, and I liked the doctor. I liked the surgeon from the time he walked in, kind of young, but something about him I liked, and I usually don't like surgeons. So people asked questions, and my first question was, can this be removed if I want it to, even after I lose my weight and everything is going well? And he said he would. So he was my kind of guy right then. So that was one day. Then 10 days later, I had the already scheduled consult. Told him what I wanted. I don't know, that took 15 minutes. It took a while. I had a whole list of questions, actually. It took maybe an hour he spent with me. I had a whole list of questions, everything, and I had them written down. And he was so patient. He went through each one, discussed it, what the study showed, because I, had study results, and I've been on YouTube and Lapband Talk and all those places, and I had all kinds of questions about erosion and slippage and success rates and how long the surgery took and which band he used, and what was the diet after a fill, and what was his procedure on fills, and everything. And he was so patient. So again, I knew I liked him. And then at the end, he examined me for 1 minute, which is he just put me had me lay back on the table and press down on my stomach, I guess to see if my fat was in my abdomen and how difficult it might be for him to go laparoscopically in the surgery. So he did that. He pushed it down, and that was that. That same day, they gave me a whole list of tests, and that same day I started to take some because they were walk-ins. I did the chest x-ray that day. He had a chest x-ray. I did the ultrasound that day. That took about 15 minutes, and then I did lab work. Okay, let me explain something. I hate needles. I am afraid of needles. I don't like doctors or hospitals either, but needles I have a problem with. And yes, I know the Lapband, you got to get that big needle with the fill. I'll worry about that when I get to it. I don't think I'm ever going to get a fill. But, okay. So I had to do blood work that day, and first of all, they couldn't find my vein. Now, I don't know if that's just me, or if that's just fat people, or what it is, but they could not find my vein. So that was a little difficult. But finally, when they found it, I had to do, they took 9 vials of blood. 9. They took 9. And that had to be a fasting blood test. Every time I go to the doctor, I always fast, because they'll tell you, oh, I would do the test today, but you got to fast. So I always fast. So if they ever say they need to do a test, I'm like, oh, I've been fasting. So I did that, and that was all that day. And then they scheduled the EGD, which is the endoscopy where you go under some kind of local anesthesia, and they do it in the hospital. And this was a process. This hospital makes you do it in the operating room. So it was bad because it scared the bejesus out of me, but it was good because I've never had any kind of surgery. And this procedure, they treated it like a surgery. So you got to go to the hospital early in the morning, and then they do all this intake. Like, you have to go to admitting, and they do the intake, and they ask you about a living will, and they ask you, next to kin, and you sit on the table, and he's like, oh my God. So you're getting this, like, I got the scaredness out of the way. Then you go back, and they take you back, and then they wouldn't let me drive home because I drove there, and I said I was going to drive home. They won't let you, but so I got there for the endoscopy, and they take you back into, like, I guess pre-op, and you got to get into a gown just like you're having surgery. And they had to do a pregnancy test to make sure you're not pregnant, so you have to pee in a cup. And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. But they didn't believe me, so we took this test. And then you got to get an IV to knock you out. I didn't know this. I thought, you just put a mask over my face and that's it. No. They give you an IV. So again, they could not find the vein, and they did it in my hand, and it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. I was like, I don't think I'm going to have this surgery. But then on the other end, I was like, well, I'm going through this. I'm going to have this surgery, because if I'm suffering like this, I'm going to go through it. So they had to do that. Oh, and because I had asthma as a child, I don't have it now. They can hear it, but I've not had an attack. They made me do a breathing treatment. So the one thing I will say, the anesthesiologist, he came and he asked questions. And the thing I will say is, when they ask you these questions, there might be little things that you think that you're like, oh no, I'm not on medicine. If you're taking any supplements, if you took an aspirin, anything, if you got a little problem like asthma, I normally maybe wouldn't mention it because I haven't had an attack I've had one attack in the last 20 years. But I mention it because I want them to know everything. I told them my exact weight, and usually how I want the exact right amount of anesthesia. So I told them the exact weight. Then they asked something. I had like a little heart murmur. I mentioned that. I was taking iron supplements. I mentioned that. I told these people everything. So the anesthesiologist, he comes and he's questioning you, and they keep saying, oh, good luck on your procedure, different people. I'm like, this is a test. What in the world? So they finished the little breathing thing for the asthma, and then they rolled me into the operating room. I'd never been in an operating room. It was sort of like watching, something on Discovery Health. And then the IV sort of, I guess, started kicking in, and I was out. And the next thing I know, I was being rolled out back into the recovery room, and they were like, oh, these are going to be your nurses for recovery. And I'm like, this is a test. But again, it was helpful because it sort of got me over the nerves of surgery, because I never had surgery, never been in an operating room. So this is almost like the prep for surgery. And that was my EGD. Okay, I'm going to go to part 2. Thanks.